Hello everybody, it is me, Farham. We're here with some Path of Exile 2, coming into Season 2, Dawn of the Hunt, playing with the new class, the Huntress, taking it down the Amazon route. I'm going to preface this by saying the campaign was completely brutal. I'm not going to give too much advice on the campaign. I'll do a short section somewhere in the video and we'll talk about the things that I learned what not to do. But we've got this thing into tier 15 maps. We've got it there on no budget at all. We got it there with the exalts that we picked up throughout the campaign. We brought one unique, and arguably you wouldn't even need that unique, and we're going to talk about what you would do if you didn't get that unique, and how you can do this effectively with solo self-found gear, and what you're going to be looking at to get yourself started. Of course, if you're playing in Trade League, then you can buy there's things around, knocking around on the trade market now that are 1, 2x that will get this beer up. Beer? That's something on the mind. Get this... get the gear to get this build up and running. So, as always, well, if I can get the PoB to be working, there'll be a PoB link, but the PoB links are busted at the moment. There'll be a max roll. And, yeah, let's get into going through this. We'll start off with a passive tree. We'll end with a couple of tier 15 showcases. We'll go through the gear. We'll go through skills. We'll talk about maybe what future plans are with the build. And we'll do a bit of a deep dive into this. It's turned out to be really, really fun now that I've got to the end game. I hate it that I'm saying that about a game. It's alright, you've just got to play the game for 20, 30 hours and then it gets fun. It doesn't, it's They've just made some fixes and changes to the campaign. I'm sure it won't be as bad as my go live experience. Let's get into this. Passive tree then. We are an Amazon Ascendancy. For the first Ascendancy, we took Critical Strike. This is simply amazing. Stack up accuracy, you get loads of Critical Strike. The tooltip for it's all busted, but we end up at about 40% with that, which is quite nice without speccing much into a weapon with base crit, which is pretty good. Predatory weak instinct we take next. This gives you reveal weakness. I thought this was going to be pretty bad, but it's considerable. It's 50% more damage. It's not increased, it's more, so it's multiplicative. On top of all the increased, it does work out to be a hell of a lot of damage. Definitely recommend that. And then for the third, I've taken Elemental Infusion. This really helps with the clear, as well as allowing us to buy exposure pretty consistently, which is nice for breaking Ailment Immune and Elemental Immune maps at the tier 15 stage, especially with this level of damage that we've got at the moment. For the next Ascendancy, I'm kind of torn. I don't know whether to take a defensive node, in which case it's probably going to be Mystic Harvest, and then try and get some Leech, or just fill out one of the offenses, either in for the kill or probably in for the kill, to be honest. You're up against rares enough that this would be proccing enough. I think that would be a good fourth choice. Then, looking at the tree and how we've got it set up for endgame, we come up to Primal Instinct, Eagle Eye, then we come down and grab Cooked and Escape Velocity, dual socket there with a really nice jewel in that I just dropped from the last key, or from the tower map, and it rolled with 2 max roll spear rolls, as well as Herald damage, and we use Herald. That's really incredible. We got Catalyst, which is nice elemental damage, and 5% of fizz damage is basically reduced to 3.75. Yeah, 3.75 is reduced by 5 reduces fizz damage by 3.75%. Nice. We've got Maiming Strike because we don't have any maim support. It also gives us some juicy attack damage. Come down, we grab acceleration, and we grab Falcon Dive. We're stacking up accuracy, so this is good. We've got some accuracy stacking going on. We fill out the spear node, apart from the spear accuracy at the end there. That's fine, although I'm kind of tempted to take that and drop that node. That could be a good swap. But this is just tweaking things now. Then we come up, we grab our defensive cluster of enhanced reflexes, bestial skin, and then to keep our dexterity high, we grab a proficiency as well. Fill out this little crit node here. Then if we come back to the start, we branch off up at the top, we get Preemptive Strike. That's nice just for clear. We're grabbing Frenetic at the moment. I find this really good just to sometimes get full frenzy charges. If it happens in boss fights, it's great. And it procs enough while clearing that it just makes clearing feel a bit nicer. I think arguably you could put those 4 points somewhere else. So those 4 points are kind of optional, I would say, at the moment. There's probably 5 points that are optional. In fact, you could probably go as far as to say there's 7 points that are optional. Fit this at around the 76 mark, and probably still be comfortably doing tier 12s. In fact, if you started this journey, you just get about level 83 as you farmed up to tier 15. Anyway, Frenetic, extra frenzy charges, I like them. Blinding Strikes, again, we're not running blind support or anything, so running Blinding Strike there is nice. Then we come round to the monk starter. We pretend we're a monk for a bit. I'm grabbing Essence of the Storm next, but we get Crashing Wave and Flow Like Water, as well as Moment of Truth. We are a crit-based build after all. Going to go for that solid crit opener. It worked well last league. I think it's going to work well this league. Boss kill times are definitely a little bit slower, but that's because GGG have done some things. Grabbing another Jewel Socket here. Just a freebie that gives us some attack damage at the moment. Still, yeah, on solo self-farm gear pretty much. Then we grab True Strike for the Jugular and Deadly Force. So, heavy crit focus tree. Seems to be working quite well. Some defensive nodes. Nice spear damage. Going to try going into lightning damage and magnitude of shock, but we might need to go into pen. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to have a look, play around, and see what feels better there. But the passive tree at the moment, relatively simple. For leveling, I took these nodes instead of these nodes, and I went down here and I grabbed Prolonged Assault, and I grabbed some other stuff around here. But I think you could arguably just run down to the spear node. Take these attack nodes here. If you really need a little bit more damage on the way, then grab, you come down here for a few points, grab Prolonged Assault, come up here, grab the spear nodes, accuracy nodes. By then you'll have your first ascendancy and you want critical strike there. Come up, fill the crit nodes, get your defensive nodes, got this part of the tree. And that should work quite well for getting you through the campaign using the skills that we've got. Speaking of skills, let's jump in and talk about those for a minute. So, as we jump into the skills, I'm going to say I've dropped a Greater Jeweler's Orb and I've dropped a Perfect Jeweler's Orb. You don't need to run 5 slots. You can run 3 slots and you'll be able to do tier 15 so long as you pick decent map modifiers, e.g. no ailment, immune, no extra monster elemental resistances, you'll be fine. Getting the tier 5 gems just allows you to start cracking those things a bit earlier. 6 slots rather. So, let's have a look at what we've got. First up, we've got Infused Weapon. We get this from our tree. This is applying lightning exposure for us. So it's got lightning exposure, long shot, concentrate effect, and strip away. I'm debating whether long shot really matters on it. I think you could swap that out for another type of support. Same with concentrated effect. And I think you could run this pretty much as a pure support. Debating. Really, you could put conduction on it. I think there's some swaps we could do here. And then we'd have concentrated effect for somewhere else. At the moment it's working though, but expect on the next iteration of this build, I expect that this will have undergone some change. I'm not quite happy with it. Then we've got Storm Lance. So this is our 4 slot. This is not the first 4 slot you make. First 4 slot you make is Lightning Spear. The second one you make is Storm Lance. On Storm Lance, in order of priority, you want Scatter Shot. That's so you throw all 3 lances at once. Martial Tempo, because it's got a shit slow attack speed. It's literally the worst. Deliberation, because it helps it do a lot more damage. If you can handle the attack speed, you can swap out Martial Tempo for something that helps it do more damage. Concentrated Effect and Martial Tempo, for instance. If Concentrated Effect was in here, I think it would be very good. That's one of the swaps I'm thinking of. And Twofold. Benefits from consuming charges for supported skills have 20% chance to be doubled. Now, why do we run that? Let's take a quick look. In our Frenzy Charge... Better if we look at it here. On our Frenzy Charge, converts 100% of physical damage to lightning damage. So 200% of physical damage to lightning damage. Shock duration is 6 seconds. That's going to be 12 seconds. Lodge Spear duration is 1.5 seconds. I don't know if that goes up to 3 seconds. I think it does. And it fires a bolt every 0.2 seconds. That becomes every 0.1 seconds. So you basically double the damage of this thing. And it's the boss killing ability, Rare Cracker. And you can see when you get this thing off with a Frenzy Charge, just how much damage it does over normal. It's incredible. Anyway, Twofold is the last thing you put in. Well, in fact, you might want to put Twofold in instead of Deliberation, to be honest, and put Deliberation in last. I'm deliberating about that one. Ha ha ha, funny me. Next up, we want Explosive Spear. So these 2 spells get used in conjunction. Basically, you throw these spears, then you throw 2 exploding lances on them, and then that happens. Everything is lovely, and everything blows up, and it does lots of damage. Oops. Single target, small area. So for this we want Overabundance, that's so you can throw 2 spears at once. You want Expedite, so they blow up faster. You don't want things, you want them just to go right. You just want otherwise something can walk off from them. So getting them to blow up faster, definitely strongly recommend. And I put Culling Strike in these because I didn't have it anywhere else on the tree, and honestly this thing's purpose, even though its DPS number is really high, its purpose is to detonate, so Culling Strike, it kills the bosses. You could probably put some damage in here instead. Like if you put Conk Effect in it and then put Culling Strike on this, for instance, that might actually be a good and valid swap. Just to get a bit more damage from here. At the same time, cat's very much in the way. Anyway, I'm going to have to do some testing on that, but there's swaps around with these that you could do to try and squeeze out a bit more damage, but it's Storm Lance that's actually doing most of the damage, and it's from these bolts. From these, the lightning bolts that get shot out when it detonates. Each one hits individually, so I think it's more about scaling that than the explosive spear. So, to me, I feel like... That's right. The concentrate effect doesn't make it do any more damage. Yeah, it's a bit weird how we're going to scale this one, but definitely some swaps here. This is working well enough for the moment, however. But again, not quite happy with it yet. Expect to see some changes on these three. What I am happy with, certainly for now, is Lightning Spear. And these are in order of priority. Well, yeah, they are in order of priority. You want to go Volt, Primal Armament, although Primal Armament's a tier 2 support, and you want to be leveling with this. I think Bullseye's a tier 1, so run Bullseye instead of Primal Armament. Then Innovate. When you killed shocked enemies, get lightning damage. Although I must say, if you're leveling with this, or if you do not have these gloves here, Kotoko's Current, swap Innovate for Electrocute, and you'll have a much better time just clearing through maps, because the Electrocute will self-proliferate the Frenzy charges from Combat Frenzy, and that will help you kill things much, much faster than it. If you've got these gloves, you don't need to run Electrocute. Spear, that is one swap I will call out now. Reasonably important, because these are something you probably will need to buy off trade, and there are... I think you might be able to get them for 10x at the moment, but most people are charging a div for anything. It's quite strange. They're all also the same seller. Funny that. Anyway. Bullseye and then Lightning Penetration. So Lightning Penetration just helps you crack those elemental resistances. Next up we've got our first Herald. So we're running Herald of Thunder. It doesn't shock, it doesn't need to electrocute, so we stick Elemental Focus, Lightning Infusion and Magnified Effect on that. Just helps us clear a bit better. It's also nice to see all the lightning bolts come down. You hit so many enemies with Lightning Spear that you cast Herald of Thunder multiple times a second and loads of lightning bolts come down, and it looks freaking awesome. It's really good. Next up we got Combat Frenzy. In that we're running Precision for that extra accuracy and Profusion to get ourselves additional charges. Then we have Sniper's Mark. This is for bossing. I really want to fit this into a cast on shock. I hate having to press it and I always forget, and I think it'd be much better in a cast on shock, but there's mana issues to deal with and spirit issues to deal with before we can make that change, but expect changes here. Wind Dancer, of course, great support, I think, running Unbreakable, Cannibalism and Blind in it at the moment. Don't need to be running Blind in it because I've got Blind on the tree, but not sure what else to put in it for now. Expect a couple of changes on Wind Dancer. Then we've got Conductivity. This is running Curse Ground, Ritualistic Cursed and Heightened Curse. I'm really not happy with that blind there because we've got blind on the tree. I suppose it definitely blinds when we get hit. Like whatever hit us is then blind. So I suppose it's fine to also be in there. Yeah, it's okay. Fine. Next up we have Spearfield. So Spearfield is just there to generate rage. It's a melee attack. You can put the spears down, and if something walks on them, you get 3 rage, even if they walk on them after they've been placed. So I just stick rage on it. Sometimes I remember to put them down and the boss walks on them and you get 12% extra damage or something. You've generally got a couple of seconds, bit of downtime. It can help with the opener. It's a button to press. You know, press a few of those, put down the curse. Just as the boss is about to spawn, throw some of these, a couple of those, and bam. All of his health goes down if you get it right. I want to simplify this. As I said, take out the Sniper's Mark. Unfortunately, you need melee for the rage, so we have to have Spearfield doing that for us at the moment, but we could swap that to a different melee attack and stand there and poke a boss. Found Spearfield to be a pretty decent way of generating it. Would like to get it to the point where we can kill the bosses simply with Lightning Spear, and we can do a lot of damage with Lightning Spear. This number here is not quite all that it seems. We've got lots of increased damage that comes off the tree based on effects. So yeah, I've got pretty high hopes for it. If it doesn't scale as high as I want it to, there are some silly items we can use to scale it as poison, or silly items we can use to scale it as bleed. But I wanted to do something with elemental, something that didn't require too much gear. On that gear, let's take a quick look at what we've got equipped. I'll start off talking about the gloves that I mentioned during the passives. and I will jump back during the skills, and I'm going to jump back to the skills for a second and just reiterate this in case you've jumped ahead. If you do not have Kotoko's current, you will need to run Electrocute in Lightning Spear to have the best time while clearing. That's it. Swap out Innovate. That's it. Or Lightning Penetration. If you probably don't have 5 slots, swap out Innovate. These are in order. Right. Good. Now we've got that covered. Kotoko's current. All lightning damage from hits contributes to electrocution build-up, while also shocking. So you're shocking everything, you're electrocuting everything. That's working with Combat Frenzy to generate us a pretty good stream of Frenzy charges. Unfortunately, Combat Frenzy got nerfed a bit now. It can only proc every 4 seconds rather than 1.5 seconds, or 4 seconds once it's a high-level gem. Kotoko's current helps us proc that like as often as we can, because we're keeping everything all the time, which is nice. On your weapon, you want to be looking for something with high fizz damage. 100% of fizz damage gets converted to lightning. 200% of fizz damage gets converted to lightning. Want the fizz damage. The fizz damage counts for double when you're using Storm Lance to blast the bosses. The lightning damage doesn't count for double. The fizz damage counts for double. So, you want to get fizz damage as much as you can, if you can. That's definitely our priority. Increased elemental damage with attacks would also be good. What you really want to see, believe it or not, high percentage fizz, high flat fizz, increased elemental damage with attacks, increased attack speed, crit bonus, crit chance, socketed with increased fizz damage rune. That is going to be your go-to Mirror Tier Spear. If it's got all of the top lines of those 6 lines. Absolutely guaranteed. Well, not almost. Increased elemental damage with attacks could be replaced with a really high accuracy bonus if you go down to penetrate. There's some deliberation there about the weapon, I think, but those sorts of lines are going to be what we're looking for. On your helmet, evasion base. We want evasion base. We want to be dodging stuff. We've got literally no life. If you can get life on it, get life. You get your resistances capped. Resistance is capped is the most important, especially if we're going into 15s. On your shield, there is a really good shield, which will basically give us significant damage bonus. It doubles your accuracy. Lycoside, I think it's called Lycosade, something like that. Either way, they're being charged absolutely out the nose. So grab yourself a decent evasion rating shield with the resistances that you need. Get some with some block chance as well. It's a nice extra added layer of defense for our nice squishy health pool. Amulet. Get someone with Spirit on it. Proj skills is nice. If you can get more Proj skills than that, it's good. Get evasion rating, energy shield, life, resistances that you need. Just grab what you can. On your body armor, get evasion rating. And evasion rating and energy shield would be best, especially if you can get it with high evasion rating, but just evasion rating will do. Again, making sure we're getting out resistances and max life if you can. On your rings, any flat damage to attacks is great. Resistances is always great. Max life. Got to get max life basically everywhere you can. Same with the other ring, just max life. On your belt, if you can get an extra charm slot, it doesn't really matter. But get max life and resistances. And on your boots, get movement speed, max life and resistances. That's it. And you're set. Got enough tank that unless you get one, if something slams you, you might get one shot by a slam. Watch out for the slams, right? We haven't got much health yet. You do need to kind of play. Not completely brainless. Well, the clearing is kind of brainless, to be fair. You just throw the spear and everything dies. The bosses, you do need to remember the mechanics that they've just forced us to play for 27 hours in the campaign again. On charms, I'm currently running a poison and a bleed charm. You could swap this for a freeze charm. I literally have still got that equipped from the frickin' campaign. I would swap that to a freeze charm. My bleed charm, we dropped a unique charm, and I was like, how can I not use the unique charm? I've seen it proc maybe 3 times. Because we don't get hit for bleeds because everything's dead. That's going to be true for pretty much every build, so I don't think this charm's any good, but there it is. That's it. That's the gear. Nothing special. This is stuff we picked up. I exalt slammed everything up to 6 mod before I started doing tier 15s. If the gear, all the gear was good enough to give us our resistance cap, I just slammed on a couple of extra things. Most of it was crap, like the 20% reduced attribute requirements. I think this one actually got the 22 life regen and the mana, which was nice. Oh no, this one got the 22 life regen and the energy shield, which was lovely. But these were just tiny little perks at this point. Doing the tier 15s, no problem. on the tier 15s. Got 2 showcases. One of them's with okay mods. The other one is with literally the worst mods this build could possibly face. Both have map bosses. And I've still got quite a bit of an experience bar there. In fact, I think I'm a level higher than when I started doing the showcases. So let's jump on over to those and have a quick look at what this build can do on what is practically no investment. Right then, so this first showcase, we're going into it with +1 map boss difficulty, so I can showcase how this thing does against a map boss that you actually have to fight. We're in very much, as you've seen the gear, right? It's not great. I mean, it's all got 6 mods because we've been slamming exalts on it and we've got enough. I'm supposed to be imagining Spark, but with bleeding, but I've got my own Spark to... I think the game's going to just crash again. Oh my god. Okay, it's decided to load the kit. Someone D&D. Like, any sort of messages or anything just seems to just cripple everything at the moment. Oh, here we go. I need to pick that up. I need to sort my loot filter out. Let's come back. Good, excellent. Just going to walk in front of the screen over and over again. Being very in the way. Adding the nice cap modifier. So you can see we're just one-shotting packs. Obviously. Slightly better weapon, we would easily. The bigger the pack is, the more damage we do. Bosses is a slightly different rotation. Well, bosses is a rotation, but it's not a problem. It's a pretty easy rotation. If they have actually reduced tier 0 bosses' health by 50%, not like quadrupled them or something, because they seem to have a bit of an issue with the difference between reducing health and increasing health just recently. I don't know why. Keeps adding zeros to things. The developer wants us all to suffer. The monsters things, by the way, they should be adding zeros to our things, but maybe don't have any zeros to this one. Maybe I don't want them to even see this one. They just buffed this skill as well. Maybe they do want us to break this. Ooh. So you can see it's pretty satisfyingly juicy explosions. Very nice. Maybe we'll cut that start to the run. The game's just crashing. Cat definitely causing many modifiers. AoE attacked with our evasion. Currently a bit of a problem, of course. Can't dodge AoE. It would be nice to go acrobatics. I think it's possible. At the moment, we're going into damage. If we get enough damage from gear, then we can switch to acrobatics and get some real crazy tanking, I think. Boss time, surely. Got enough chat, haven't we? More bossing. Getting the chat. Because I don't have corpse explode. The fact that rares can have corpse explode now is literally the worst. I have no idea why that came in. I got blown up on a tower map like 5 times. I was like, what is going on? Some rare in the background just blowing everything up on the bridge. As it was dying, I was just like, that is fast. That monster skill speed. These monster attack speed, just everything was going so fast. Oh. We sustain once more. Very easy to sustain these days. Just kill the last rare. Any difficulty? Any amount of modifiers? More modifiers, less attempts, less portals. But here we go. There's something there. But the trick is not to stand in poison. The middle. Bosses spend a fair amount of time just being stunned and stuff. We stun and we electrocute at fairly regular frequency, so As we start to scale up the damage, these fights obviously get faster and faster. They're not too slow, they're not too much of a problem. Just dodge the attacks, cast the spells. Bosses die. Take a little bit longer than I would like, but again, pretty much in solo self-bound gear. We're going to show you another key next, where basically the key's got all of the completely wrong modifiers for the build. And then we run through that. Splash, it's fine. But yeah, this is very satisfying to play, so I'm hoping we can keep scaling it. I think we can. There is scaling options. We haven't even got geared yet. Alright, let's showcase this thing in a tier 15 map. This is actually the first tier 15 map I've done, and it's got a map boss. I don't even know if this build can do it, but I think I can. Therefore, I can. We've got basically the worst map modifiers you could possibly have for a build like this. This is reliant on both elemental damage as its pure damage source, and we're reliant on proliferating shock and electrocute. So, let's have a look how this goes. I've got a feeling the first pack will be a slow start, but as soon as we're rolling, everything's just going to start falling. We've got ways to deal with elemental immune. We can deal with the elemental immune, we can deal with the ailment immune. We should be able to make our way through this. I don't know how. The boss might be rough. But, you know, it's day 3. We're in solo self-bound gear. Solo self-bound. I brought 2 things, which we covered off in the gear section. But for the most part, I'm not. There goes one shot the pack. Problem. Well, 2 shot that one. Oh, spicy, spicy. They're definitely not dying in one hit with these sorts of modifiers. It's okay though. We're not going to bother with the ritual. The ritual will be scary. We're going to blow them up with one of those. Problem is, we're not electrocuting things. We're not generating any charges. Charges are quite an important part of this build. We're only getting like the baby spears. But let's see if we can get it done anyway, right? With just the baby spears. If we do a tier 15 without empowered spears, with like half of the build being nerfed from the modifiers, can we still get through them? Then I'll show you one where we don't run these modifiers. Shoot, babe. My cat's getting excited. Still need my broad ascendancy. Oh, it's a scary boss, basically. Well, 18 spirit gem, no less. That's nice. Yeah, these are really rough map modifiers, like the worst. This is the sort of map that if I had lots of tier 15s, I definitely wouldn't run it. Would definitely be like, nah, I'm not running an elemental immune and ailment immune. One or the other would be fine, but not both. In fact, I'd say ailment immune is probably the worst, because that's really messing up our ability to generate frenzy charges. I mean, we can always cast a sniper to get them that way. And then miss with the empowered spear. We also have extra added cat modifier as well. She is literally pacing back and forward around the desk. You can probably see her headbutting me in the arm on occasion. She's been fed, by the way. She's not hungry girl. She's just existing, as cats do. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I put the build showcases up, and I actually put this up as one, putting this one up second, just so you can see what it can do when the odds are ever stacked against it. It's got so much evasion as well. If it does get hit, well, it doesn't really get hit very often, and it's got block. So its layered defenses are okay considering the life size. Obviously, we'd want to get some sort of probably evasion energy shield chest, and then make up for our smaller life pool that way. It's too many points to be able to keep up the DPS and go CI on this build for sure. So I would also recommend not doing what I did and actually taking the 10% chaos resistance when you finish Act 3 and not the 15 attributes. That's a mistake I wish I could take back, but we are where we are. My poor planning there. But my poor planning means I can give you guys the right advice to get this done properly. Ritual tablet, ritual tablet. We're actually having to use the boss busting abilities on... Oh, crap. That's close. Oh, I just... Apparently those things have got moves.
I'll not say no to that.
Did it not give me a key? What is up? Why, this... What? So this is again 50% ailment immune. So with a really bad rotation from me. See, we're not. You see how slow we're building up electrocute. Normally you electrocute the bosses and everything. Anyway, there you go. Up tier 15, the Vanquisher's Book of Knowledge for our first tier 15 done. So that was genuinely my first tier 15 done with... with the worst modifiers you could possibly have. I'm going to showcase... yeah, well, that's... Honestly, this bit's going to be the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed the 2 showcases. I hope you enjoy this build, and I hope you want to follow along. I'm going to be streaming it every night this week. I've got a whole week off work. Lucky me, eh? I'm also over on Twitch. If you have enjoyed the build and you want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button. Maybe subscribe so you see when they pop up. I'll be figuring out farming stuff, figuring out probably some currency stuff, but I mostly like just nuking the shit out of stuff with builds like this without having to spend too much currency. I also like to get them down to about 1-button playstyles if I can. It feels like it might be a bit iffy to do that, but I've got some ideas, so yeah. Hope you guys come along for the journey, and I will catch you in the next video. So Shubeb says bye too. Have a good one.